Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wigan 77 True Crime and Mystery. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. And I truly appreciate everyone who's hit the like and subscribe buttons on my previous videos. So thank you so much. So today's topic is the John O'Keefe Karen Reed case. Karen Reed was charged with second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated, and leaving the scene of a collision resulting in death. Now, she was tried for this, and it was declared a mistrial due to a hung jury. Now, here's some food for thought. Karen Reed admitted driving under the influence of alcohol. Therefore, she is guilty of that offense. There is a factual evidence to prove that she did that. Her blood alcohol at 9 a.m. the morning of the discovery of Jack O'Keefe's body was at 0.078% and 0.083%. Therefore, at the time of her last drink, which was at 12:45 a.m., her blood alcohol would have been 0.135% and 0.292%. Therefore, Karen Reed should be charged with operating a motor vehicle while intoxicated. Now, I don't know what the punishment for that is in that particular state, but she admitted it, so therefore they should move forward on that. So, in this photograph, we're going to go through the evidence of John O'Keefe's death here. Just the evidence, not the witness testimony. And as we go, I'll explain why. So, what you're looking at here is the photograph of the victim in this case. His name is John O'Keefe. Yet, almost every article written refers to this man as Karen's boyfriend. Here at Wigan 77 True Crime, we will always give the victims the respect they deserve. Okay, he's not Karen Reed's boyfriend. He's John O'Keefe. Okay, and the cause of death for John O'Keefe, according to the testimony of the coroner, was multiple skull fractures, and hypothermia. However, the manner of death is called undetermined on his death certificate. So, what I question is, if the manner of death on the death certificate is undetermined, how did the prosecution arrive at charging Karen Reed with second-degree murder, vehicular manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a collision resulting in death? Okay, this is where the disconnect begins in this whole case. Now, I know there are many of you out there that have most likely followed this case from the beginning and most certainly know a lot more in regards to this case than I do. But here's the prosecution theory was that Karen Reed ran John O'Keefe over with her SUV, drove off, left him to die. However, according to the autopsy report, the injuries John O'Keefe suffered were not sustained from a vehicular accident, but blunt force trauma to the head, causing several skull fractures. The autopsy report defies the prosecution theory because if you run somebody over with your vehicle, they're going to have like multiple broken bones, damaged interior organs at the very least. And if you hit someone with a vehicle with enough force to sustain multiple skull fractures, then where is the bruising on the body where the vehicle impacted John? So, no matter which way you look at it, the body, the injuries sustained, do not correspond with a vehicular accident. So, therefore, let's look at what happened. So, first, we're going to go back to the crime scene and start at the beginning. So, here you see in this photograph, this is a crime scene photograph of the house, the alleged, and I'm going to say alleged crime occurred. Okay, so let's go on to see the physical evidence and what story the physical evidence tells us. Okay, so these two crime scene photographs depict the area where John O'Keefe's body was found in relation to the location of the house, just from different angles, just so you get an idea. Now, this one, before we venture any further into evidence, we need to recognize the evidence collection at the location of John O'Keefe's body was appalling, to say the least. You know, I research cases all the time where police have a total disregard for collecting and preserving evidence properly. But I would have thought that at the least the police would have done so, considering John O'Keefe was one of their own, that they would do it right. However, they didn't. The crime scene photograph on the left is blood from melted snow in coffee cups in a paper bag. The right crime scene photograph is the approximate area where John O'Keefe's body was found, taken after his body was removed and after the police had shoveled the snow. So this crime scene photograph, you see John's shoe as well as blood in the snow that the police shoveled. So we go on to this one. This crime scene photograph is the approximate location where John's body was found laying in the snow. Then subsequently, the police, after shoveling through the snow, found pieces of taillight lens and broken glass. The police presume this is from the glass that John had in his hand when he took from the bar they arrived at the house party. See, they were all in a bar earlier that evening, and then they all decided to go to this house that you saw in the photograph to a house party. They were having a house party there. These are predominantly all policemen, by the way, off duty policemen. And when they left that bar, John O'Keefe took a drink with him from the bar. So this is what one of the witnesses testified to in court. At 12:40 a.m., she sends a message saying, "Pull up behind me," because John O'Keefe and Karen Reed had never been to this house before. Okay, so one of the ladies who had attended the bar and then went on to this house party, she had sent them this text message. She was referencing her vehicle in the driveway. Then she said that she subsequently watched the black SUV, which was Karen Reed's vehicle, move from its initial place where it had stopped near the driveway to the far side of the property near a flagpole and fire hydrant, and where the body was subsequently found. At 12:45, which was 5 minutes later, she sends another message saying hello, and then observed the black SUV drive away. Okay, so this lady testified to that in court. So the first question I have is, this witness testified she watched the black SUV, Karen Reed's vehicle, move from the end of the driveway straight along the road to near the flagpole. Then the black SUV drives away. Now, maybe I'm daft, but if this witness was watching the black SUV, why didn't the witness see John O'Keefe exit the black SUV? If Karen Reed ran John O'Keefe down at that moment, as the police decided Karen did, then this witness should have seen it. So why didn't the witness see that? And my other question is, did this witness not see that because John O'Keefe was already in the house? Karen Reed told police that she let John off near the end of the driveway so he could go up to the door of the house to make sure they were at the right house, as neither of them had been there before. John was supposed to come back to the vehicle or text message Karen, let her know this was the right house. However, he never did. Karen said she pulled ahead, then waited a bit, then left. So where's John? Okay, I'm showing this screenshot of the same area to give you a better view of the approximate distance of where John O'Keefe's body was found in relation to the curb without snow. So it's a little easier for you to get a perception of that area. Okay, this next one, this is a police photograph of the rear of Karen's SUV. Now, the only visible damage on this SUV is the broken taillight lens on the upper right side, as you see for yourself. The police assertion that the taillight was broken when Karen ran her SUV into John, based on experience with motor vehicles, this defies logic. And I'm certain most traffic accident investigators would agree. The way the taillight on Karen's SUV is broken is usually the result of either, you back into a fixed object at an angle, like another vehicle, or those poles you see in parking lots, those concrete poles, or shopping carts. You ever see that in the parking lot where the shopping cart is, escaped and it's roaring and down the parking lane and it hits the back of a car. Those are the most common types of causes of the taillight lenses to break in this way, other than by deliberate means, like somebody actually deliberately breaks it. Because my question is it possible they were arguing in the vehicle? John got out, threw the glass at the vehicle, breaking the taillight lens, which would explain why later on the police would find broken pieces of glass from the glass that John had taken from the bar on the bumper. So that's my question. So in this one, we see the crime scene photograph of the right rear broken taillight lens from just a different angle. And this one, we see the photograph of the bumper depicting the broken glass of the taillight lens, broken pieces, sorry, the taillight lens is made of plastic. Okay, so there was little pieces of broken taillight lens as well as broken pieces of glass the police determined came from the glass that was in John's hand when he left the bar. Because I find it difficult to believe that she ran him over and broke the glass and the glass ended up in the back of the bumper. To me, the only way little pieces of glass from the glass that John O'Keefe took from the bar was if he threw it at the car, and he hit and broke that taillight lens. The other way defies logic, because if you run somebody over and they've got something in their hand, that object is going to fly out of their hand, either to the right or the left, depending which side they've got it in their hand. It's not going to go forwards onto the bumper of the vehicle. It just defies logic. So, excuse me, in this photograph, it was shown in court from the autopsy of John O'Keefe. Now, I haven't followed this trial. However, what got me interested in this was when I saw this new photograph, I knew what caused those type of injuries on his arm. And it isn't from any vehicle. And the reason I knew was when I was younger, I was attacked by a dog. And the injuries to my arms, and I still have the scars today, and hands look just like the injuries on this arm. I couldn't believe it. Like it was just by chance I saw this photograph. So I became curious and looked at the physical evidence presented in court. So this one, we have a photograph is of the front of John O'Keefe's jacket or hoodie, whichever way you want to call it, which was his outside layer of clothing. Okay, he didn't have a big park on, even though it was like freezing cold and snowy blizzard going on. He only had this hoodie over a t-shirt. Now, mind you, all these people were drunk. Okay, everybody in the house party was drunk, and Karen Reed and John O'Keefe were very drunk, as well, intoxicated as well. Okay, so the next one, this photograph depicts all the rips or tears in John O'Keefe's jacket hoodie. On the right side is a close-up of the rear right arm of the jacket hoodie. Notice all the tears are to the right side. Okay, if you look at just this photograph from an objective point of view, the first thought comes to mind is defensive wounds. The victim has used his right arm to protect himself. Now, I don't know if he was right-handed or left-handed, but I'm assuming he's right-handed because that's the arm with all the injury. Now, again, think of being hit by a car. You don't have defensive injuries when hit by a car at speed, and you wouldn't have injuries on only one arm. You would have injuries all over you. This is a close-up of the two of the tears in the fabric of the jacket hoodie that measures approximately 3 centimeters between the distance of the two hairs. Now that's approximate because when they measure these type of fabrics, because of the type of fabric it is, when you're wearing it and when a CSI lays it out on a table and measures, going to be two different types of measurements, okay? Okay, this is a photograph of the back of the jacket hoodie depicting on the bottom right corner two tears in the fabrics close to the hem. Okay, now this next one is a close-up of the same area. Now please look at the rear on the left. Notice how it appears as if something got caught in the fabric, proceeded to tear the fabric to break free. Also notice how close to the hemline the tears are, as this is a clue as to what and how this happened. Okay, this is the house where the party was. To the left, the red circle depicts the approximate location where John's body was found. The center of the photograph, the red circle, depicts the door everyone used to enter the house. Okay, in this photograph of the house in daylight, the red circle depicts the same door. Remember what the witness said? She saw the SUV drive off, but made no mention of seeing John. I couldn't find in the testimony that anyone asked her if she was standing outside or inside the door looking out. If this, now it was a snow blizzard that night, okay, so chances are she's not standing outside texting. If this witness was standing inside the door looking out, would explain why she didn't see John get out of the SUV. This portion of the house is recessed, so the witness would only have a partial view of the SUV, which would be like the driver's side portion. Also, it was very cold and snowy. So this is what the story of the physical evidence tells. Karen stopped the SUV near the flagpole. The witness that was texting most likely opened the door to enter the house to get out of the cold and snow, as the dog most likely exited the house. The witness, busy looking at her phone, and of course these people are intoxicated too, you have to take that into consideration, most likely didn't pay attention to the dog exiting the house. Karen and John are arguing in the SUV. John exits the SUV, throws a glass at Karen's SUV, breaking the taillight lens. This is why the police found the fragments of the plastic taillight lens along with pieces of glass from the glass John had taken from the bar on the bumper. The dog sees John do this, reacts by grabbing the bottom back of John's hoodie, creating those two tear marks in the hoodie near the bottom back. Dogs instinctively will grab at the highest point to take down the threat. So anybody who's been around dogs, especially large dogs, this was a German Shepherd dog, they have a habit of jumping up and grabbing the bottom of your clothing, whether it's a sweater or a jacket or whatever, just as a way to, it's their instinct to get something that is larger than themselves onto the ground. So if this is what occurred, the dog pulled on him because John being drunk, he would most likely fall to the ground at that point, raised his right arm to protect himself, which the dog continued to grab at John's arm, causing all those tear marks you see in the arm of his hoodie and the injuries to his right arm. Now, those injuries are as if teeth were grabbing and scraping as the dog's teeth would get a bit stuck in the material. It's very difficult to explain. Um, and as this was happening, John would have been moving around, laying on his back on the ground, most likely hitting his head several times on the frozen ground as the dog continued to bite his arm. Now, John was drunk, so he wouldn't have had his wits about him to hold his head above the ground. Like if you were sober, you would. You'd instinctively just hold your head above the ground as you're trying to get away from this dog. So this would have happened very quickly, though, in a matter of seconds, possibly, a minute or two at the most. And most likely what happened was someone in the house realized the dog was missing, most likely opened the door that you see in the red circle, called out for the dog, and the dog ran back in the house, not realizing that the dog had attacked John and he was laying out there injured in the snow. The other factor is, by their own admission, all these people in the house, as well as Karen and John, were extremely intoxicated at the time this occurred. So And one of the party goers from the house said that they got arranged for a ride between 1:30 and 2 a.m. They left the house. They indicated that she thought she saw something she described as a dark object in the snow by the flagpole, but she couldn't determine what it was. And of course, didn't give it a second thought, but that was most likely John O'Keefe laying in the snow. So if you look at the evidence from an objective viewpoint, the evidence tells the story of an unfortunate set of circumstances that occurred, which resulted in the death of John O'Keefe. There is no damage to Karen's SUV other than a broken plastic taillight lens to indicate she hit John or ran over him with her SUV. There are no injuries to the body to indicate he was hit by any vehicle, as there were no injuries on the body to indicate he was in a physical fight with anyone in the house, which is what Karen Reed's defense attorneys first tried to say, that this was this big police cover up. And his injuries do indicate he was attacked by a dog because his only injuries, there's no bruising on his body. Like, if her SUV had hit him, he would have had bruising on his legs at the very least, you know. And to sustain more than one skull fracture when you only hit a person once, how does that happen? Like, he's not going to lay there and bang around his head. So, by being attacked by a dog, yes, he's intoxicated. The dog is grabbing at his arm. He's trying to, fling the dog off. And in the meantime, he's probably bouncing his head around on the frozen ground, which that would cause multiple skull fractures. So you're wondering why Karen Reed was charged and why this came to court. This is why. You have a group of people feeling guilty John died on their property the night of the party. They become angry at Karen because they don't like her. And you know what? Quite frankly, rightly so. As anyone who listened in court to the phone messages she left on John's phone that night demonstrated that Karen is a poor excuse of human being. She surely is. The way Karen Reed behaves in such a vicious and vile manner is without a doubt despicable. I mean, anybody who listened to those messages being played in court, oh my lord, I can't believe people speak that way. It's especially at her age. How immature and childish is that? However, as despicable as she is, that doesn't make her guilty. This is why you take witness testimony with a grain of salt, as in most cases, the testimony, and especially in this case, the testimony of witnesses is tainted by emotion. You must always look at the physical evidence, as the details of that evidence will reveal what occurred. This entire crew of people involved, they've let John O'Keefe and his family down, and they most certainly deserve better than this. This case, before going to trial again, should be handed over to an independent police department to reinvestigate the entire case. They could begin with measuring the German Shepherd's teeth to prove or disprove that the injuries on John O'Keefe's right arm are caused by the dog or not. They should also take DNA samples of the dog's saliva to determine if it matches any foreign DNA found on John O'Keefe's outer garment or near the tear marks on the lower back side of the outer garment, as well as anywhere on the right sleeve, and then proceed from there. Everyone always wishes to blame someone when a death occurs. However, unfortunately, in this case, it appears to be a chain of unforeseen events that caused the death of John O'Keefe. The first trial ended in a hung jury, and the prosecutor indicated they would retry Karen Reed. However, whether that will occur or not is currently before the court. If the prosecution does retry Karen Reed, prior to spending more taxpayer dollars, I do hope they obtain an independent police department to investigate the incident. The prosecution should definitely move forward on charging Karen Reed for driving while intoxicated, as she confessed to this. As to allow this crime to go unpunished is a miscarriage of justice. I don't know what the sentence is for this crime. However, perhaps some time in prison would give Karen Reed some time to reflect on her poor behavior and change her immature ways. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to all your feedback. Please leave your feedback in the comments section. You're welcome to email me your feedback at ybentleydavidson@outlook.com. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe buttons. It's free. Until next time, always remember every day is a gift.